Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, YouTube. All right. All right. Let's get set up with Instagram and notes. You know, I always bring you on first. Make sure our sound is still on. Yeah. Testing, sound still on. Yep. I just don't want my phone to connect and then cause problems. Okay. Let's get you on here, Instagram. Sorry for my hand, YouTube. We're just doing our thing here. I thought I was up. Come on in, come on in. Don't be shy. We're getting started in a second. I just need to get logged in to Instagram. And normally I do this offline without bringing you guys along, but I wanted to honor the time that I had put already because you can pre-schedule your lives, and we come on every Thursday at noon Pacific. So why not? Why not do it that way? All right. Are we ready? I think so. Yes, we are. Where's my notes? Here we go. Got the questions. Hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, Clutter-Free family, to the Clarity Hotline. I'm Yvette, your clarity coach. And welcome. All right. I was just pulling up my notes, pulling up the questions. The two for the day. We have one mom FAQ or FAMQ and one just general question from our general audience. So let's get started with a breath. So take a big breath in and a big breath out through the nose or out through the mouth. I'm stuffy today. I think there's like some crazy allergy that just attacked me this week. And so I'm all stuffy. So bear with me. And so I'm going to breathe through my mouth. In through the nose and out through the mouth. And hopefully, you're breathing to be settled in the body, right? And to slow down any, the heartbeat, or slow down, or just relieve the tension, smooth out the anxiety that you might be feeling coming from something else into our hotline. So no judgment. We're just trying to, get on the same page here. Okay, so big breath in until you're ready. And let me go ahead and give you a quick preview of the questions. So this is our FAMQ. What's the secret to running a business with kids? Because I'm still struggling. I hear that a lot. Karina, you're not alone. And then Twyla asks, what's a good yoga class to start with as a beginner? So we are going to start with the mom FAQ first. What's the secret? Well, anyway, are we here? Say hi. Hi, everyone. Before I dive in, because there's quite a few things I want to cover at the end. Just want to make sure I, have addressed everything. Okay. Let's just dive right in to Karina's question. What's the secret to running a business with kids? Because I'm still struggling. And I think there is a secret to it that nobody's saying. It's definitely mindset. Not enough people are saying this. And I think it's very important that we don't skip over mindset when it comes to building a business, especially a business that's going to last, that's going to be your legacy, right? That's going to give you time and money freedom, all the stuff that, it factors into a dream business, I would think, right? And then obviously it gives you time to live a dream life, live the life that you want to live, because we're not starting businesses as moms to have more time away from our kids. I think the majority of us want a business to spend more time with our kids, right? Can I get a hand raise? Confirmation there. So with that in mind, the secret is to get your mindset in check, or at least on notice. Like, okay, we're cleaning up our act. So when it comes to self-doubt and fear and overwhelm, we are seeking the opposite. We're going to get clear. We're going to trust ourselves, feel confident in what we have to say, because we're clear on what we have to say. We're not confused on what we're doing this work for, our why, our purpose. We're not confused about who we are to do this work. We're not confused about who we're serving in this work. Like, we very much know our customer base, and what we're providing, the results we give them, right? In the product or the service, this is what you can expect from this, right? So there's clarity there, clarity of offer. And that really is contingent on, having a clear mindset. That is what I think is the secret sauce to running a business with or without kids. I think it is important with or without kids. Because running a business with a busy mind, even if you didn't have kids and you're just always in your mind, maybe you're an infopreneur, you're an entrepreneur who works in the IP space, intellectual property. So you're writing books, you're writing blogs, you're writing YouTube scripts, you're putting out content on social media of your own creation. You're not making content for other people or selling other people's products. This is your thing. If you're building a business like that, you really want to get your mindset down. So that's what I think is a big secret that a lot of maybe, courses maybe you've taken in the past, or things you've done in the past with regards to building a business have missed. And no more, right? We're not going to do that anymore. I personally offer my mastermind for entrepreneur moms, and we start with mindset. And mindset is infused through it all, because we're mindfully building a business. And in order to mindfully build something, mindset is involved, right? And let me pull something up real fast. Just to give you an idea of how important mindset is, let's take a quiz. Okay, so I have one question on this quiz. I just want you to answer it. This is how I help my clients discover their priorities for the day or the week, the month, the year, right? This is kind of like what I'm getting at. But anyway, it's only one question. I want you to answer this question. Okay. Is it more important that you A, sit and connect with a kid that's had a bad day at school, or B, go work on your computer answering emails? Okay. A or B, your choice. No right or wrong, no judgment. It just is what it is. Okay. So you have your answer. Okay. So how you answered that, even the debate you had in your brain about it, how you answered that determines your priorities, and therefore helps you simplify your day down to fewer things, right? We want fewer things to do, fewer things occupying our brain, when such a big part of our bandwidth is being mother. Such a big part of our bandwidth is parenting this child that needs us, right? And so at any point of the day, you might ask yourself this question, right? If no kids are home, then you really can ask a different A or B set of questions. It's always, there's the trade-off when you are running a business as, on your own. You're running a business and you're wearing most of the hats. You have to figure out how to wear less hats. Okay, so we want to think less but better. And I think less but better in terms of productivity, because you want to really maximize the time you spend on business. So then you want to focus on maximizing the time for what matters, right? So then you have to come down to, well, what matters to me? What are my priorities? And so this is very much a mindset question, because you're getting deep within, you're asking yourself questions. This is time for self-inquiry to discover, well, okay, so what is important to me? What does matter to me? What matters most? And that's going to help you move the needle, right? In business, we want to move the needle. We want to make an impact, and we want to make money in the fastest way possible. That is what guides us to the most important thing to get done today. The single most important thing to get done today. If you can answer all those questions, there you go, right there. And where people struggle, one, obviously starting a business is hard. That's probably the hardest part. It's just starting, right? Starting anything is the hardest part. But then the second hardest part is simplifying. Simplifying down to the fewer but better things in the business, so that you constantly are doing what you love, and you're hiring out as the business can afford it, hiring out the people to supplement that effort, right? Because you can have a low effort business. When you think about that, when you think about less but better, fewer but better, you can have a business that does really well with less of your effort, with less of your day to day, minute by minute involvement. Okay. Yeah, because I think ultimately, Karina, your question, what's the secret to running a business with kids, is coming down to your beliefs about business and what it takes from you. Because the quickest way to burn out, right? We're avoiding burnout. That's the secret to running a business, is avoiding burnout. How do we avoid burnout? I think mindset. So it's all full circle here. Okay. But burnout is really when we when we don't have the balance, and we are maybe running a business more with our masculine side, and we're not balancing like the feminine qualities that might see an opportunity where the busy worker doesn't see, because they're just busy with the task and the logics and the analytics and just working in the business, that kind of technician role. And then there's kind of this wiser approach of working on the business. And both of those have some feminine and masculine qualities on both of those. So you want to just kind of like make sure that nothing is outworking the other. And that's how you can maintain balance and peace in business. And then same with home, right? Balancing the masculine and the feminine energies. That's why, mom and dad play a role in bringing this child up. There needs to be their impact and their influence both. Now, more so, I think, and we talked about this in the past on the Clarity Hotline, that more so in the beginning, the feminine nature is so important to that baby. That mother-child bond is so important to build up. And I think then, you start to get more of the masculine qualities that are really important. Like, for instance, Erica Komisar in her book, Being There, which I recommend reading if you have littles at home. But being there from 0 to 3 is really important, that the mother really be there for major milestones, not just major milestones, really just day in, day out care, right? Attention, the mother is there. So that's what she's talking about in that book. And I forget why I was tying this in. Anyway, well, because I think it ties in some other questions people also ask that I was going to say for another week. How do you start a business during maternity leave? Because a lot of people want to start a business during maternity leave so that they don't have to go back to work. And I think that's where a lot of like our creative gusto comes from. We've got this new incentive to provide for this baby, and then spend more time with baby, because I think that maternal instinct kicks in, that I want to be here for this baby. Now, not every mom wants to be home 24/7 with baby, and that's where nannies and daycares come in, right? so that you can fit in whatever else you need to do, part-time work, errands, whatever, cleaning the house, whatever you want to do, so that when that baby's there, they're getting your full attention. So I get that, right? How you kind of play with your schedule that way. But whatever it is, whatever you're maternally called to do, um, is sign that it's what you feel most drawn to, and therefore is a priority. And so all of these come down to, I believe, getting clear on what you think about business, because you don't want to work in your masculine so much that it's another job. It's another job that you've built for yourself that keeps you in the rat race, keeps you on the hamster wheel, and keeps you chasing, right, the next success, or the next I don't know, the next reward, like that next external validation, that next external praise, whatever you're chasing, right? That is what you deem as success. So getting clear on even what you define to be success is important, because if you don't know what you're going after, you won't know why you're still in the rat race. You won't know why you're still on this hamster wheel, spinning your wheels and just delaying your peace and freedom, because you're still like day in, day out hustling to get there. How you build a business in the beginning is really how you're going to continue to run the business. And I'm not talking just systems. I believe you can install systems at any point in business, and you should constantly be looking, does this system still work for me? Does this tool or app still work for me? Does this person still work in this role, right, on my team, in my business? I think that's important to kind of also review. I mean, it's a great time to do it every fiscal year, right? Just review things. Have a CFO handle the numbers and kind of deliver to you a report if you're the visionary in the business. If you're not, and you love numbers and data, then by all means, have at it. Take a look at kind of what's moving the needle on an analytical level, because that's going to help you determine where to put your effort next year. It's kind of the 80-20 rule, right? We want to put in 20% of the effort that nets us 80% of the output. So 80% of the revenue, 80% of the impact, 80% of the influence, the followers, whatever your metric. You want to do the things that really net you the most gain. There's a book called 10x is better than 2x. This kind of mindset. Another book called Essentialism. This kind of mindset, where it's, you just want to really get down to the big drivers, right? Especially as you're a small team. If you're a small team, you really have to be making bigger moves, right? With the least amount of effort that depletes you, right? And makes you incapable of working the next day, right? You obviously have to keep your pace. You have to understand your own bandwidth, and you're sharing your bandwidth with your family at home. You have to understand all these things, your energy output. You want to make sure that you are spending enough time in business to make it move and feel fulfilled and feel rewarded with that intrinsic value that you get from working on this business. You want to be creatively expressed in this business. You want to be yourself, and all that fullness and richness, right, that comes with following your purpose and your passion. That you want your bandwidth for that, and then you also want your bandwidth for your other passion, raising a family, making a home, right? Giving them a life you want for them, basically. That takes bandwidth, right? So it's at every point you want to look at things. So it's not just about installing new systems. You can do that on a regular basis, like the seasons, the changing of the seasons. Each new season comes around again, right? So use that as an opportunity to, okay, this fiscal year is over. How did we do? What was our revenue? What did we put out? Like, what's our profit at the end of the day? P&L, all that stuff, right? So work with your CPA or your bookkeeper, and just being on top of that kind of thing is important. But even before all that, even before you're the person that's making that kind of money that you see in your dreams, you've got to see yourself as the person who makes the money that you see in your dreams. You have to be that person. Mindset. It's like if you have an upper limit problem, if you think that you are capped at 100K a year, that's what your earning potential is, and that's what in, and maybe you've met it and you can't seem to get past it, then what is that upper limit problem? What's beyond that number that has you fearful? This is your money blueprint, right? And then so what else is your money blueprint? I have to work hard to make money. What else is your money blueprint? Money doesn't flow or grow on trees. Money doesn't come easy. Money is for the greedy, right? So there's a lot of things that we've borrowed along the way as beliefs that we now hold that we've not questioned and really questioned. Is it energy that moves through me because it resonates and it's like, oh yes, I can be a channel for this energy, I'm a vessel for this energy? Or does it get stuck in your identity as it is now? Does it get stuck there and cause you delay? And what is, delay is depletion and depression, and all the other debt, right? Spending too much beyond your means. All those things kind of amount to that interplay that's happening here, right here in your body, your mind, your soul. So it's very much a forerunner in the process of getting your business up and running, is understand what you believe about money, what you believe about time, what you believe about yourself, right? And your ability to do this. I think as we go and as we grow, we are faced with these questions for sure, for sure. I think it saves a lot of time and heartache and hustle and headache if you do it in the front end and continue the process as if when you plan your business, you're planning the new year and you are actively involved in like, okay, what's next for us? What's next? I'm looking at the numbers, I'm taking the analytics, the CFO is delivering me the metrics that I care about. And then I'm going to ask myself, what's next for me, right? What's the next milestone for my child? What season am I in? What phase of motherhood am I in? Where my demand is less here and more there. And then what's my supply, right? What's my support system? How much of myself do I get to give to these areas in my life? That is going to, net me some type of profit, right? Some type of gain. Otherwise, what we want, and you probably heard Tony Robbins say it, like what we want as a human race is progress. That's how we identify success, like as a collective. Progress, forward momentum. So of course we want the gain, right? We want the gain in money, in fame and fortune, and I just wanted to say those two together. And and however you name it, in status, right? We want that gain. That's what we're seeking. We want the gain in influence, right? So we're seeking something, right? So what is the gain that you're seeking? It's important to know that, because at any point in business, at any phase, at any stage, you're going to be asking yourself the same question. So what's next for us based on this objective that I have, this clear, overarching kind of goal that we have for the business? This is how you maintain a sustainable business. Is you don't lose sight of those questions. So I think that is really, really important to recognize, because what no one is telling you about, I think in a lot of the courses and a lot of the programs out there, what nobody's telling you is that you don't have a time problem, right? It's time is a mental construct. So what is a mental construct but the way you think about a thing, what you believe about a thing? So what are you thinking about that thing? What do you think about time? Is there not enough time? Is that what you keep playing on repeat in your mind? Are you giving yourself kind of I think what becomes a habit is in our day, We give this so much, this activity so much time. We give this activity so much time, this activity so much time, all throughout our day, sprinkled inside, and it's like it puts us in bed at this particular time, right? I think that's all running. These are this computer is factoring all that in to see, can I do that? Can I, oh no, I can't do that. I can't do that. So constantly we're factoring in, like, what can I do? And time is not just, hours on a clock. It's actually also your bandwidth, right? Your capacity. When are you going to tap out? When are you going to call it a night, right? Because your body can't just is done. That's also part of it too, right? So it's not a time problem, right? Until you know what you believe about time. Because what you believe about time could bring up so many things around fear and doubt and distrust in yourself. Like, I don't really trust myself to see this through. I've done it before and I quit, I I'm going to run out of money, right? I only have 3 months maternity leave. How am I going to make this happen in 3 months? I've never done anything in 3 months, or my focus right now is my baby. I don't want to work on anything else. So see how all these other thoughts come into play, that until you're clear on what's factored into your belief about if I can do this or not, your trust, your time, your calendar, it starts to reveal, oh, okay, so what I ultimately believe about myself. And if you want help with this is what we do in the mastermind, my mastermind for entrepreneur moms, because I think it does feel convoluted and even theoretical, right? Like, I'll never really know that. I'll never really get clear on who I am. And I'm always evolving. So what does it matter that I get clear now? Well, yes, we're always evolving, but what we only ever have is today, right now, this present moment, right? So we're only here today in this moment together, right, on this call, right now. There's nothing before or after this. There's only right now. It's always going to be the only thing we experience, the eternal now, right? So yes, now is always the most important time to be concerned about. More so than anything else is now. And how you build a best business now determines how you will run a business then and continue to run a business. Because see how we're putting in place, like I said, we kind of factor in what our day, we allot this much time for making dinner, this much time for the kids to eat it, this much time for a bath, this much time for story time and play and all that stuff before we actually lights out, go to sleep. And this is my bedtime. This is what I think in a given evening. And so this is what's happening, right? When it comes to, okay, got to factor in not only my own schedule, but the schedule of my family. What do they need? So there's constantly stuff going on, right? And it might feel like, oh, I'll never get a handle on that. I'll never manage that well enough. Honey, yes, you can. Yes, you can. I think we get so bogged down by, honestly, unfortunately, what we're influenced by. We're bogged down by our habits. We're bogged down by the people who have our ear and want to tell us their opinion. And we're bogged down by not being a traitor to our traditions. And really, I think I've talked before in a video about this. I think the biggest fear is not a failure when it comes to like fear of success or failure. I think it's more so when we fear success because of what it will cost us. Like if I fear failure, I'll just, further be humiliated if I fail and have to go more in hiding. If you're already in hiding, that doesn't scare you as much as being out of hiding and in the public's eye, the public view, and susceptible to judgment, and then have a harder time hiding. Do you see what? So there's a cost there, right? Well, when it comes to family, like I fear becoming successful because the time my business is going to start to demand of me, I can't scale. and I can't scale with the amount of time I put in my business now. I won't be able to scale, right? That's that's an issue, right? Would you say that's an issue? You want to be able to scale without it costing more of your time. So then, of course, you don't scale, you don't grow big, you stay um, status quo in your business. Like, oh, okay, what we did last year, we'll do it again, because you're scared of what resources, right? What capacity scaling will cost you, or so what success will give you as far as like an increase in status and an increase in, I mean, honestly, you name it. I think we don't want to leave people behind. We don't want to leave our loved ones behind, like as if we can't carry them anymore or something like that. Because that's what we feel as mothers, is we're carrying our family. That's our load. It's our mental load. We're carrying our family, right? In our minds and on our bodies. We're caring for them too. In caring for them, we carry them. And this is definitely an energy leak, an energy drain. If the systems at home are in disrepair, it's an energy drain, an energy leak if systems at work are in disrepair, because you just don't have time. You don't know what to do. Where do I even begin when it comes to like fixing my business and scaling in a way that the business needs me less? How do I even get around that? What does that mean? What does that look like? What's the overhaul is basically what I think traps us in, status quo. Well, this is why in the beginning, mindset as an important factor in business building, and really even deciding what your business model is going to be. This is why it's important, because you do that on the front end, then there's less of an overhaul later, because you've built it to move with you, to grow with you, to flow with you, to evolve with you. Really, it's built on the foundation of that, right? Of that confidence, of that knowing, of that understanding of yourself, of that trust in yourself. That's why I think the lift is lighter, right? And then also, as you grow mindfully, because you're aware of what the business needs from you to move to the next level. It's not always going to be, my business needs the same thing as so and so over there needs. No, it needs what your unique situation needs. If the opportunity for your business is adding a new funnel. So you've got one funnel and it's just perfect, just flowing nicely, netting you profits, and it's just working great. Then maybe how to scale is to build a new funnel, right? For a new product, or a branch off of that funnel into an upsell or a downsell. Or let's say the next iteration of your business is writing a book. Maybe the next iteration of your business is starting a podcast, an interview series on your YouTube channel. Or some type of collab, right? With a collab interview series on Instagram. Whatever is next for you obviously determines what you put into play when it comes to tech and team and all of that stuff. So that will help you know what to spend your money on, so that you're not at a deficit in both time, energy, resources when it comes to you, but your team is not bottlenecked by what you have them doing that won't help them scale. Does that make sense? Or even you're so bottlenecked in what you're doing on a day-to-day basis because you're wearing all the hats and you don't realize you don't have to, then you aren't able to make the time to know what it is to scale. And that is the ultimate trap. And this is the hustle culture, because you'll just throw spaghetti at the wall and see if it sticks, because you think the market determines more of your results than you and your own mindset. Your mindset will determine the market, because it's all about belief. And this goes into manifestation. So this is a little bit more ethereal, more enlightened, more elevated of a thought when as it is when it comes to business than the run-of-the-mill business as usual advice. It's not just like, oh, we'll try this, this, and that. Run an ad here, here, and there to all those audiences. Okay, but not yet. Maybe that's not what you do yet. And if you build a business in a particular way, as you know, I would recommend, then you're gonna see that the audience is very much more clear. You're not starting with a blank slate of like, I don't know who will want this. And if you are really set up to have that offer liquidate itself. So um, meaning you have kind of the money to play with when it comes to that, and experiment and see if there's new audiences that you haven't tapped into yet. And then you run ads, right? Um, I'll personally never forget some people in the online space uh, said something that I really resonated with, that they wouldn't start a podcast until they met the mile marker that they of their first goal, which is, whatever, so many people in their program, or so much revenue, right, in a year. If they meet that mile marker, then they will move to the next thing, which is, well, I've got this, maybe this mile marker amounts to an audience, then I can launch the podcast to an audience. They wouldn't launch a podcast with no audience. And I think that's really key and profound. And I hope you hear that, right, with the most love possible, because I also think it's the case with a book. I also think it's the case with a book. Without an audience, then there's no one to launch the book to, right? And what do any publicists will always ask, what's your platform? They want to know your numbers on your Instagram, your followers, your subscribers, whatever is your platform. But what that means is, who do you have an ear? Whose ear do you have? Who's in the audience, and how many are listening to you? What's your email list size, right? So they want to know that, because you're marketing your book with them. They know that their pool only goes so far. You also need to have cultivated an audience and a demand for more of your stuff. So I said publicist, I meant, well, literary agent, or publication company. They're going to want to know that stuff, because it's not just their heavy lift to sell this book, it's yours too, right? And so anyway, that's something to chew on when it comes to what business are you starting? Are you starting a business to ultimately write a book and be an author, a best-selling author over and over again, in maybe the self-help space, nonfiction space, or fiction space? Is the ultimate goal for you to speak on stages about a topic, multiple topics? I don't know, run events, host retreats. What is your goal, right? Well, that really helps you determine what you do today. And if you're at all misguided on, your A to Z journey, if that's my Z, what I envision for myself within the next, I don't know, let's say 3 to 5 years, if that's what I want, then it's going to help me discover what I need to do today, right? And then this is where the universe is involved in calculating that for you and with you, and making, as long as you hold fast this vision and this belief for yourself that you will have that. And like we talked about on the video on Tuesday about manifestation, if you act as if act in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, like Neville Goddard says, if you come into every day knowing, done, it's done, I'm going to be speaking on stages about this topic all over the world, and I'm going to be paid this amount of money per appearance. If you already see that, the universe is, oh, well, let's line up the path to get there. Let's make it super clear. Let's shine a light on it. Let her know there's no deviating. This is your path, right? Done. Okay. There's no plan B, right? There's just plan A. Then the universe is all about it. And then speed happens. You have momentum. You're getting there in the fastest way possible. That is important, right? Because then it's going to dictate, does my effort that I put in today on this thing lead there? And there's some clarity demanded of us, right, that we want to have about our vision, right? We want to start with the end in mind, and we see that vision, and then we work backward like any good property project manager would. Work backward on our timeline and see like, okay, well, what would I be working on today? And it comes down to another manifestation question. If I were her already speaking on stages right now in my mind, uh, I'm already her, right? And I believe it wholeheartedly. I'm already her. What do I do today? Am I working on building my platform? Am I working on writing my manuscript? Am I working on my keynote? Am I working on my media kit? It depends. How big is the audience that you already have? This is all things that you can start to look at and get clarity on, so that you can know, what's most important today to get me to my goals the fastest. That is what I believe is, meaningful productivity, a strong mindset, right? The mindset that's going to make this easier, the process of starting your business and balancing business and babies a lot easier. So anyway, if you are interested in that, I'll put the link to the mastermind so that you can learn more and apply for the mastermind for entrepreneur moms, because that is the best way to work with me on this, and to really for us to workshop in person and online together virtually. And you to have my pretty much unlimited, mentorship on this, and get your mindsets just super sharp and crystal clear, and working for you, not against you. Okay. So that's my little plug for the mastermind. Let's get into the next question. So from Twyla, what's a good yoga class to start with as a beginner? Good question. So I would say immediately when I think of it, I think of Hatha yoga and Iyengar as good starters for understanding the postures. The thing is across all practices and forms of yoga, it's not always going to be the same. But you get very foundational in Iyengar, and you hold the postures so you can really come into kind of the body's knowing of like how to move this into this, in and out of this safely without injury to the joints and bones. So that is really good. Hatha is a slower movement through the postures as well. Hatha really lends itself to vinyasa. It's kind of like the ancestor for vinyasa. And vinyasa, I think more so people are starting in vinyasa sooner than later. And even like Bikram and hot yoga, they're starting in those first because that's what is available, right? They're accessible at kind of these more commercial yoga studios across the nation. And, you have these chains where they come up with a kind of a rubric or a system or a flow, a structure, things like that, where you can kind of like, what you're getting. That's with really any yoga. You kind of know what you're getting based on what you're practicing. But with vinyasa, there is the faster movement. There is like the flowing of, movement with breath. There's usually music. So it's more on kind of this westernized take. I think that's fine to start there. And I know it is more accessible, and, ClassPass can get you a vinyasa class in the next 5 minutes, that kind of thing. That's how available and popular vinyasa has become, especially here in the States. And, because there's kind of both this athletic quality, the calorie burn of vinyasa, and it doesn't feel boring, right? Because you're kind of moving, you're flowing, and you're challenging yourself. And it's very, very effective for that. And strong, you're getting really strong. So that I think is kind of like the next step after maybe spending some time in a Hatha or Iyengar class. I think Ashtanga is really good too. Also, an ancestor of Vinyasa. I think Ashtanga is, depending on your teacher, you could you could hurt yourself. That's not even really the most the most important thing. I think what I want to say that to that is the benefit of Ashtanga is the like a long practice. Same with Bikram, right? It's like, no, I'm just going to focus on getting better at these postures and this sequence, and I'm going to just deepen my deepen the posture and perfect the posture within my body. And so that means, yeah, going deeper. Like for instance, like in a dance class, take mastering the splits, right? That would be one thing that you'd work on every single practice, right? It's kind of like that where you're just deepening your practice and your understanding and your knowledge of your body, right? And I think any good yoga class to start with will help you, will hopefully introduce you to the mind and body connection. I know there's not a lot of time in these classes today, in this day and age, but introduce you kind of to this mind and body connection that you want to foster with the practice of yoga. You want to always remember the breath unites the mind and the body. The breath, simply remembering the breath brings you mindfully into the space you're in, onto your mat. And then the breath, just doing the act of breathing, brings you into your body. So the more mindfully you're doing that, you are connecting mind with body. You're syncing the two so that when you're off the mat, you're taking that lesson, that self-awareness, the better understanding of your posture and how to not always slouch or, look at your phone and compromise your neck, or to walk with a different gait that is more conducive to balancing your hips. I think any yoga that teaches that is so important. What I find frustrating with like chiropractic sessions, or even, like the run of the mill vinyasa class, is that you don't get that understanding. The chiropractor will adjust you and send you on your way. And you've got to just live life literally going back to the way that you were before, and feeling the deterioration of that adjustment through the next few hours, days, weeks, till you need another one. The relief of that is very corrective and balancing, right? So there is that like proper relief, right? And mentally and physically, right? In our belief system, we believe that we've been adjusted to equilibrium. And then also like physically, like our body maybe can let out a sigh of relief because maybe it was holding something, a muscle was protecting a joint or a bone in a particular way. And once you kind of corrected that, then the muscle could relax, and because the bone was actually sitting on bone and not a joint. So you didn't have like a pinched nerve and things like that you physically feel the release of. I just wish that they were educating everybody on, well, this is probably what's happening. They ask you, do you sit at a desk? How often are you in the car? They ask you those things, but they're not really advising you. If you found a chiropractor who does, let me know. I'd be happy to be wrong here, but it's not been my experience. And I've seen a chiropractor for years and years and years, and different types, right, of chiropractors, and never walked away with like that level of maintenance plan, right? That understanding of my own body. And the same with yoga. I think that's, everything is such an effort of love, right? When it comes to these specialties, and these specialized resources that we have to live our best life, ultimately. I just think so many things leave out the self-awareness part. So my mission in life, not only to help moms, better balance business and babies and experience like living their best life in both at home and business, but like living their best life in their bodies, right? The understanding of their bodies on like a soul level and a flesh and bone level, right? When you can walk away from yoga better understanding like, oh man, I can make that adjustment easily while sitting at my desk and it will alleviate my migraines, count me in. I will do it. I will make, and so then you start to form these habits, right? These new beliefs around your own health and well-being. You start to form these new beliefs. So very, very much all intertwined, interconnected, and yeah, and so important. Um, Someone asked, is yin also important? And yes, yeah, I mean, not important, a good start. And yes, yin is a good a good entry because it's slow, like a good entry class. But I would say the best type of yin yoga is restorative, not just like putting you to sleep. Because yoga nidra, that's where if you need to prepare for sleep, that's a yogic sleep, right? So you could do yoga nidra if you want to sleep. Yin um, is not just to um, relax the body, but to recuperate the body, right? And to rebalance the. So I think a yin class, while it's slow and meditative and mindful and can put you to sleep or at least set you up for a better night's sleep that night, you in yin should be actively counterbalancing the yang in your life. So all the activity that you've had today, let's say you take a yin class in the evening, all the activity that you did that was very externally focused, right? Talking to people, this kind of outward extrovert energy output, right? Then you've got to recoup it with kind of some attention within because you were putting all of your attention without. Now it's like, okay, I want to sit within. So let's say you did yin, that's restorative every night. Well, you'd be countering the sitting at your desk. You'd be countering the commute in your car, right? And the way your body is and the way you kind of lean to one hip and drive, or the way you slouch in your seat when you're bored or upset or tired or just like over it and want to leave. And you just aren't mindful, right? You aren't present in your body. Well, now, right, in yin is a great time to be present in the body and come into that that wavelength of wanting to restore the body and recover the body from the day. And then if you think about it, rinsing the muscles, if with twists and things like that, and folds, you're kind of letting the muscles kind of rinse. So drinking plenty of water will counter the dehydration maybe you had that day. Drinking too much coffee will dehydrate you for sure. Drinking not enough water will dehydrate you. Talking all day, let's say you're on stage, you're talking all day, or you're hosting something, you really want to increase your hydration. And if you're just interfacing with people, and that kind of exchange is very dehydrating, then you're using that time in yin. And any of the tension, right, like we talked about with posture, but just tension from on a mental emotional level, what were you dealing with, right? That whole psychic kind of part of you also gets to be restored in this time because you are maybe just letting yourself process the thoughts. You might notice as you're in a posture, what happened that day comes up in thought, and you're able to sit with it and think about it and see both sides of it, and wonder about the future when it comes to that. And if you're in the most relaxed, vulnerable state of being open and honest with yourself, then you will allow kind of that time to be very meditative and very healing and very clearing, right, as to like, okay, this is what I'll do next, or giving you peace around a situation, like giving yourself that time to sit with your body. So everything's kind of syncing, processing, integrating into your psyche, into your system, into your bloodstream. It's all kind of being replenished, right? So that's what I would say if you were going to do a yin class. Just try to maybe give the teacher an advance notice, like, hey, is this pretty restorative, or can you show us some restorative postures? I've been sitting at a desk all day. And then they'll, cue up some more restorative postures to help you, fix that. Or I was driving in a car all day, so my right hip is really tight. And then they'll give you some cue. You could say that to really any teacher, any yoga instructor. Let them know kind of, hey, this is what happened, but they are not necessarily going to tailor the class to that. But in a yin class, they could. In a yin class, I think there's time. Could just simply swap out a posture for another. But anyway, and then same with Iyengar. Depends on the teacher, though. They might have a particular, thing that they're trying to do with the class as far as move them forward in a particular posture and ready the body for that, right? Because you take any yoga class, you'll notice that in the beginning, you're preparing the body for maybe the more intense work in the second half. You're opening the body, you're preparing the body, the muscles, warming up the muscles and getting the breath, the lungs oxygenated to kind of ready the body for what's next. The more performative, the more intense postures. That's kind of what the flow is. And then they slow you down and close you out with Shavasana. So you're laying down and they say that's the most important posture in yoga is Shavasana, because you're literally letting the body be with itself and using everything you did and built up in the class to, settle and infuse and rewire what it needs to rewire and things like that. But that's very meditative. And the best classes, in my opinion, have a long Shavasana because they recognize the importance of that meditation moment, that mindful culmination to a class, really designed to connect mind with body, spirit and soul, the divine and the flesh. Anyway, okay, so we are at time. I did want to just give a shout out for Black History Month. I'm reading A History Maker, Black History Maker. Anybody else in a book club? This is the book I'm reading this month, Open Water, by Khaled Azuma Nelson, British author, and he won many awards for this book. So I was like, oh yeah, we have to read it. It's a modern day love story, very poetic. Anyway, I'm reading this with my book club. And if you need a book recommendation for your book club, maybe start with this. I've got no affiliation with this author or anything, with this publisher or anything. I'm just saying this is what I'm doing. Okay, I have a little bit of a cold or an allergy, whatever. And it is like totally in my nose and stuffing me up. So great time to end this Clarity Hotline. Thanks for coming on. I'll see you next week. If you want to know more about the mastermind, I will leave the link to the mastermind for entrepreneur moms in the description. Learn more, apply, and submit your next question for the Clarity Hotline on clarityhotline.com. And I'll see you next week. Noon Pacific time on Thursday. Peace. All right, YouTube. Thanks. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for your questions. Peace.